Hi beautiful souls, it's Tan here again today on this Astrology, Human Design and Gene Keys, currently now channel for you today. And today we're going to be talking about the Venus Uranus archetypes in a natal chart and what that's all about. All aspects between Venus and Uranus, as well as the archetype of Gene Key 49, Human Design Gate 49, which I feel kind of links or has some similarities and overlaps with the Uranus-Venus archetypes, and how these archetypes links to the themes of marriage in our current day and age. So while I was on my 11-hour flight flying back to Bangkok, I was watching Little Women, you know, the movie based on the book by Louisa May Alcott, and I kind of had this idea. It's just funny how ideas come when you least expected it, but that's what makes it the more exciting. The idea was about Venus Uranus, and specifically I want to talk about these aspects and archetypes through this particular storyline. So the story talks about the March sisters, and of course the March sister that I would link to this archetype, and I feel within her energy that she probably has some Venus Uranus going on, and probably the gate and Gene Key 49 is going to be Jo March, of course. The story really centers around women at that time in our past wanting to make their own money, which was quite rare back then, to have a career, to be independent, and to make a living for themselves. And Jo March is one of the, shall we say, most strong-headed, but also strong-headed in her pursuit of this dream. She wanted to be a writer and make her own living from that. So we see how this archetype, Venus Uranus and the 49, is about that progress and that revolution. She can be considered at that time a bit of a revolutionary. Of course, nowadays women make their own money, no problem, but back in those days she was a bit like ahead of her time, right? But Jo March has her own flaws, and this is also the flaw, or the shadow side, shall we say, of the Venus Uranus and the 49, is that she sees, how in the society, right, a lot of women, they can't make their own money, and so they rely on marriage or their husband to bring them that support of their basic needs. And so she was really against this. But her view was quite extreme, and her view was more of a reactionary rather than a revolutionary, which is the shadow side of these archetypes, is to be that reactionary rather than revolutionary. And when we talk about Venus Uranus, the most prominent kind of aspect that may play out in the extreme type of way is going to be the conjunction between Venus and Uranus. If you have a Venus square Uranus or Venus opposite Uranus, you can flop back and forth between different ideas that I'm going to talk about in this video. So Jo March doesn't really see that even if she marries a man, she can still make a living while still being in a particular marriage, because she's reacting to what she doesn't want to happen in her own life, rather than thinking objectively and having a radical and looking for strategic changes in this concept in the society. So when a really great guy who I believe they were both quite in love with each other at a certain point, at a certain level, and they both had a lot of love for each other. They had a great friendship, and that guy's Teddy. Teddy proposed to Jo at some point in the story, but Jo rejected Teddy. And the way I see this, Jo doesn't really, in her own heart, not believe that the marriage cannot be successful in her own heart. I feel deep down inside, she knows that Teddy is good for her, and I believe he is. They have a great friendship, and marriage and a great relationship is based on a really good friendship. They've also got that flirtiness, that a little bit of that tension going on between them as well. And so I feel like she knows in her heart, authentically, with regards to her own authenticity and her own values, that Teddy is good for her. But because she's really stuck on the extremity of her principle, she doesn't want to say yes to the marriage. But deeper than that, there is a really fearful part of her, and this is to all Venus Uranus and Gene Key 49, Human Design Kit 49, is that there's a deeper part of you that really fears rejection. That's at the bottom of it. Because if you think about Uranus archetypes and Aquarius archetypes as being the representative of the collective, the unity of humanity, joining forces together as a team, can be fears with regards to rejection. And so if Joe 49, Venus Uranus, were to get married, there can be failures in marriage, there can be divorce, and with regards to that, it would really kind of reflect back on your own principles. And so that kind of a rejection can be very traumatizing to this particular archetype. And that is why Joe, the 49, Venus Uranus, resorts to the shutting off of emotions, but it's not a consistent shutting off of emotions. It's kind of like a one-time thing, but there's still a lot of emotions going on inside, and can completely cut someone off or completely say no in this case. In the mind is thinking, I know that I want to make my own money, I know that I want freedom, and marriage is not going to give me freedom. But the irony about this is that the mind is thinking that this is your authentic self, that this is really what you want and really who you are. But this is actually not freedom at all. That's the irony there, is that this is actually your own limitation. Seeing the world, seeing the progress of humanity and society in black and white is going to limit you, right? So white for you may be, for example, to get married, and then there's no freedom. Black means to not get married and to have freedom. Both of these options is the doing of a reactionary, not a revolutionary. Both do not give freedom. So where is freedom? Freedom is rooted in your ability to feel in your emotional solar plexus what it is that really aligns with who you are. Feeling your values and your principles. Venus rules values, Uranus and Aquarius archetypes. Aquarius is partially ruled by Saturn, and Uranus, it does have to do with principles. Both of them have to do with principles. If you're going to be a revolutionary, you got to know what your principles are. That's why you have something to stand up for, right? Principles and values come together. So in this case, let's go back to Joe for a little bit. In this case, if Joe were to really feel her emotions and her feelings in her solar plexus, she will begin to kind of feel what is authentic to her with regards to relationships. That maybe what is really true to her, what really makes her feel good, feel connected, is that, she could get married to Teddy, and Teddy is embracing of all her quirkiness, all of her dreams, but she can still have a job and a career and make money while still in a marriage. She doesn't have to rush to have kids or rush to have a family. It's not about that. It's about the negotiation, the compromise of the unconventionality or in other words, the authenticity of who she is. And we can also see how the, black and white thinking, I'm going to use this word, the antagonistic, reactionary, reacts to other people. We can see when, Emma Watson, who plays Meg, Joe's sister, says that her dream is really to get married. And then Joe reacts first by saying, just, come with me, let's run away together, we can have our own play, I'm gonna write and you're gonna act. You don't have to rely on another man for marriage. And then Emma Watson is like, but this is my dream. It's not the same as yours, but it is my dream. So we can see how a reactionary can kind of be extreme. When you have a Venus conjunct Uranus, we're gonna see themes. We can see themes of somebody who may jump really quickly into relationships because of that kind of impulsivity of feelings, but then not being able to really, jumping into a relationship really quickly and being committed really quickly. This is one way of looking at it. But then seeking for more diversity, but ultimately it's more authenticity in that relationship. And if the partner isn't able to provide that, the Venus-Uranus conjunct person can kind of get out of that. But the conjunction tends to provide a more there's more surety about what your authentic self is all about in relationships, but needing to find somebody who is going to be able to want the same kind of things that you may want, no matter how conventional or strange it may be or exploratory it may be. The opposition in the square is going to provide a bit more tension. I've seen this happening a lot with Venus square or opposite Uranus individuals, that it's like there's a part of them that is willing to invest and jump into really risky types of relationships, but then when the partner doesn't quite give that freedom or that unconventional exploratory nature that they want, they kind of they're not really aware about what their own values may be at first. And so they may, try to fit themselves into particular relationships that's not authentic to them. And that it causes sometimes it can be selfish behaviors to occur in relationships where it's like, I've stuffed myself into this relationship for you, and so this to me is like a sacrifice because I actually want my freedom. I actually want something more unconventional, but I'm gonna change for you. What are you gonna do for me? Which is not a really healthy relationship pattern. So with the square and the opposition, you're learning through relationships to figure out and adjust, figure out what your authenticity is in relationships and with regards to your values and lifestyle, and kind of adjust and negotiate that with a partner. So that's the difference between the conjunction and the square and the opposition. The trine, the biquintile, I have the biquintile in my own natal chart, or the the sextile. These are more you kind of know what it is that your values are going to be, and there's more a likelihood that you're going to find another partner who may reflect or be able to, be just as unconventional as you are going to be, but there's still going to be adjustments that needs to be made in the partnership. There's still going to be some type of negotiations or adjustments with regards to your unconventional natures between you and somebody else, but we're going to see more creativity and flow with regards to that. But yes, so back to it. With regards to the principles of the Aquarius archetype, I'd also like to point out that, so in the story with Joe March, Teddy, after Joe March rejects him, he goes and he proposes to Joe's sister, Amy, right? And they're engaged, they're about to get married. And we can see the other kind of positive aspect of this archetype being played out, which is principles. So Joe, when she finds out that she actually loves Teddy and she would like him back, but when she tries to get him back, she finds out that he's engaged to her sister. What she could have done, we see this a lot in romantic comedy movies, is she's doing some sneaky behavior or trying to seduce him to win him back. But we don't see this happening with Jo March. She was writing a letter to him, wanting him back, but when she finds out that he's in love with her sister, she tears the paper up and throws it away. She sticks with her principles. She knows that she can't cross the line anymore. So, the Venus Uranus and the 49 archetype has an ability to be extremely loyal in their nature. Extremely loyal. But it's just finding that person who gives you the freedom to be yourself. When you get all the freedom that you ever need, you're not going to go anywhere. When you get to fly like a free bird, if you have Venus Uranus or even Gene Key 49, when you get to fly like a free bird, you'll always come back to that person that you love. That's, I feel, the reason why there's a lot of principles involved with the Aquarius archetypes here. And so, yes, and this is, I feel like, the key to this upcoming Aquarius age that we're kind of going into, as well as Saturn, and Jupiter slowly going to be moving into Aquarius at the end of the year, is themes of getting in touch again with our emotional solar plexus and our feelings, to kind of know what we really stand for, to not box ourselves in to what we don't want and go to the extreme of what we see and what we don't want to happen, and go to the opposite extreme of that, so that our own feelings and emotions, what we can really trust from our emotional solar plexus, our intuition, our feeling nature, that trust is just gone, and we are completely, like, ultimately it's like following the crowd, It's like following the crowd, and that's not bringing anything new into the world. That's not bringing in any type of revolutionary into the world. Yes, I think, the irony is that you're actually following the crowd. Let's say there are two movements going on, right? One movement is women should be married and make their rely on their income from men. Let's say back in Little Woman's day and age. Let's say the other movement is that women should not be married and they should simply make their own money. If you're choosing either of these movements, you're limiting yourself and there's no freedom at all, but you're simply following the crowd. It's an illusion that you're really fighting for freedom, but you're not. It's finding the creative, original movement, advocacy, cause that is not either one of those extremes. I hope that's kind of making sense, guys. So yes, that's going to be like my kind of message for you today, and one of the things I'd like to share with you today. So if you have this placement or this archetype of the 49 or the Venus Uranus, do comment below and let us know what your experiences have been. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. My website is now back up, and I am currently offering readings again, especially when it comes to a combo reading of astrology, human design, and the gene keys, which I'm super excited to be doing for you guys. If any of you are interested in that, it's super fun to be combining these different systems together. So yes, do visit my website for that. And that's gonna be it, beautiful souls. Have a beautiful day. Bye.